Hey everybody, welcome back to Sounds Like a Drum, Caden's independent media production. Today we are exploring what it means to take a cinematic direction on the drum set. If you, like a lot of us, and certainly like us here, are experiencing ruts in your creativity, you're not super excited about playing, you're looking for the next thing for yourself to kind of explore and get excited about, we are trying that out here ourselves with a little program where we're going to give ourselves a word that gives us an idea about a direction we could go on the drum set, like a prompt, and see where that leads us creatively. Today, we decided on the word cinematic, not orchestral specifically, but playing the drum set in a way where it's a singular instrument and that is really evocative of visuals, of energy, and the kinds of things that we're hearing in movies these days too. In order to get us going in this direction, the first thing that we wanted to do is take away a couple of the things that we feel are normal on the drum set here and also swap out for some slightly different sounds so that we could start to lose that expectation and dig into pure creativity. The most noticeable from out front is that we are bringing in the 18-inch hi-hats. It's a K custom dark crash on top and a K dark crash thin on the bottom. Additionally, we went ahead and swapped out our normal tom batters for Strata 1000s that are in the orchestral classical vein and give us a little bit of a different sound than we're normally used to. And finally, we have a UV EQ4 no port on the front of the bass drum, and we have an EMAD calf tone on the batter with no foam ring in it. So we're going for big sounds. Lastly, the snare is the same as it usually is. G12 on the top, 300 on the bottom, tuned a little on the high side. We tried to get it to dry out a little bit so there wouldn't be too much crosstalk, and so we could speak through the rest of the drums. Let's hear how all these things are sounding today. We have all these new sounds. We're trying them out on a regular backbeat with some regular fills. They work perfectly fine. They actually sound pretty good, but they are going to give us a lot more in the creative direction if we back away from playing the normal rote things that we do and start to get into how each of these things is behaving. Now, as we're listening to these sounds, it's important to note that when we hear this kind of playing in context, in cinematic environments, one of the big components of the sound is the space. A lot of time it's recorded in a really big room. It's recorded in a space where they can get the mics far away from the drums as well. And just for a little bit of context for that, let's hear these sounds with a bunch of reverb to emulate that sort of environment. hopefully with that, you're hearing the direction that we're going with this, and it's starting to give you that kind of energy and excitement about what these sounds are capable of, just in front of you, but also in terms of in a larger space, in a larger arena. In terms of creative approaches, we are spending time with just drums today, and there's a lot of scoring and cinematic soundtracks that just have a lot of percussion in them and not a whole lot else. Sometimes there's also a lot of other musicians and a lot of other instruments piled on as well. So one of the things that we definitely think about when we're considering this kind of playing and this kind of creativity is the space itself. Do we want to fill every single spot in every single measure? Do we want to have space for other instruments to shine through? Do we even want to play in time, or can it be a freer kind of thing? All of these are possibilities. All of them go toward this idea of supplementing a visual and giving us also, as we listen to it, a visual experience where it's less about drumistic things and more about a feeling and a mental picture and describing an environment with the playing on the drum set. This can definitely seem daunting if this isn't a type of playing that you've worked on before or really experienced or gotten a chance to explore. And for us here, we started with just getting rid of some of the things that define normal drum set playing. In this case, playing eighth notes or sixteenths in the hi-hat or ride cymbal hand. What if we break things down to just kick drum and snare drum and start to explore the rest of the kit as colors in between, kind of as if like a percussion ensemble might, where there are different players with different jobs and some of them are freer than others. As we grow out of that, we can start to explore not just the space, but also the dynamic range of each of these instruments. You can use different implements, bring the volume level way down, and get a completely different set of characteristics out of the entire ensemble. Additionally, if we did have a percussion ensemble with multiple players, we might have somebody with sticks, somebody with bundle rods, somebody with mallets, mixing all of those sounds together, which we can emulate by mixing up which implements we're holding in between our hands. When it comes to mixing implements, I definitely had a lot of experience in orchestra with even having to switch them up inside of one piece because we frankly didn't have enough people to cover all of the parts that we were supposed to be playing. You might have 3 or 4 individual parts marked out and only 2 guys on the gig who have to scramble and cover all of that stuff. So making sure that you have access to whatever you might want to use to mix up those tones is going to make it flow a little bit better and give you a lot more options than you might think from a relatively small drum set. Additionally, with mixing up implements, it gives you an opportunity to have a really staccato implement in one hand and a really warm, round legato sound in the other, such as a mallet and a stick or something like that. And then this brings us to another kind of challenge that can get you creativity, which is that you have to pick which hand you're using because the sound that comes out is completely different even on the same part of the kit. This type of perspective is useful no matter what your playing situation is, whether you play by yourself or you're working all the time or you play in wedding bands. This is an opportunity to just get reoriented to your drum set and possibly add some new sounds to your playing. A wonderful way to do this is to modify your practice sessions away from certainly what I have always done, which is sitting down and warming up with rudiments or with a book or with something that I'm very familiar with. And instead, warming up with pure creativity, no rules, playing as free as you want or as boxed in, frankly, as you want, but making sure that the whole point of it is to put yourself in the creative mindset first before you work on anything else. This can give a fresh perspective to a book that you're working out of, music that you need to learn for a gig, something that you may be teaching a student later on. It all folds back to this idea that we can start with technique, we can start with rudiments, we can start with any of these things, but oftentimes we forget that creativity is a huge part of the pie, and if we start with that, it's going to influence everything else that we do. Additionally, and we've mentioned it a few times before, just the idea of tuning for a certain sound to influence how you're going to practice later is also part of the creative process, because finding sounds that you love is being creative. Finding those sounds, remembering what they were, and seeing what happened when you then play freely and do whatever you want with those sounds. It's all holistic to the creative process and also takes us closer to our own personal sound that we're looking for all the time. This is a perfect opportunity for any players out there that are living in a relatively narrow stylistic lane and doing the thing that they do to step outside of that. The further that this is from what you do on a daily basis, the more beneficial it will be to get rid of all of your preconceived notions about sound, feel, time, all of that stuff, and start over as if the kit is brand new. This is true if you play blast beats all day. It's true if you swing brushes all day, whatever it is. Set aside the thing that is your thing, which we love, and go as far away from that as you possibly can just to see what you discover, because everything you add in is only going to improve the thing that you love. But if we only do the one thing that we love, we're going to just do that forever, and it's going to largely stay the same. That about wraps it up for today. Thanks so much for watching. This is a new idea that we just thought up recently, and if you liked it, please let us know, because we have a lot of ideas centered around this, and if this is giving you something that's sparking your creativity and getting you excited to play, we would love to know. And frankly, if you think about your kit this way, it would be very interesting for us to know as well. Additionally, as always, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and please visit the Patreon. Follow the link below. Check out everything that we have there. If you want to see more of the 18-inch hi-hats, there's a whole bunch on there, along with some even bigger ones than that. And lastly, if you are a person who goes after cinematic sounds on the drum set, especially if they're different than what we did today, or if you have specific kind of setups and things that you do, we would love to know, because the idea of building a visual, spatial experience with the drum set is something that can benefit all of us.